I think it's time that we start the conversation and silence the shame.
Silence the shame.
Silence the shame. Silence is the difference between treatment or pain, life or death.
Silence the shame.
Speak up now and silence. Silence the shame.
What's up? Happy Mental Health Awareness Month. My name is Shanti Das. I am the CEO and founder of Silence the Shame. And I'll do the official introductions once this young man takes the stage. But you all give a warm ATL welcome for DJ Drama. Keep it going. Woo! Yes. What's up, King? You can just pull that right around. Yes.
What's up, everybody? How y'all feeling?
All right, so you ready to do this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, so I got a little intro. So as y'all know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we are super grateful to have this conversation today. Special thanks to The Gathering Spot, Ryan, TK, Kendrella, and the entire team for allowing my nonprofit, Silence the Shame, to team up for Mental Health Awareness Month. Special shout to our staff. We will do those intros at the end of the conversation, but we appreciate everyone for always supporting Silence the Shame as we continue to push the culture forward with thoughtful conversations on mental health and wellness. We aim to educate and empower communities and to continue in the fight to erase stigma on mental wellness. And again, as I mentioned, our guest today is a really special one. Which, I'm embarrassed. I didn't know your real name till I started digging in.
Get out of here. All these years?
I just knew you was Drama. I mean,
it's crazy.
People call me Shoestring. Some people don't know my name.
My mom definitely didn't name me Drama.
Oh, I know. And we're going to get into that and how you got that name. But Mr. Tyree Simmons, or better known by his stage name, DJ Drama, is a legendary DJ, platinum selling producer, okay, this is long, y'all, music executive, mogul, and co-founder of the music label Generation Now. Born in 1968, the Philadelphia...
No, 78.
Oh, 78, I'm sorry. My bad. I gave you too many years. My bad, I flipped it. All right, born in 1978...
Really, 88. It's 88.
It was 78. Born in 1978, the Philadelphia native dropped his first mixtape, Philadelphia, at just 15 years old. After a trip to ATL with his father, soundtracked by Outkast's Southern playlistic Cadillac music, he fell in love with the Southern city and eventually attended Clark Atlanta University. And this is a full circle moment because the first record I ever worked was Players Ball.
I know, it's crazy.
And the fact that I'm having this conversation with him,
It's because of that got me here.
That's so dope. I love it. So DJ Drama has maintained an enduring career for over 15 years by consistently identifying and championing voices of tomorrow. Whether it's hosting and compiling his iconic Gangsta Grillz mixtape. Y'all give it up for Gangsta Grillz. For Lil Wayne and Jeezy, to name a few. DJing first for T.I., our beloved Tip. Or signing Lil Uzi Vert and Jack Harlow. DJ Drama always has, and I mean always, his grip on the pulse of the ever-changing history of hip-hop and culture. In addition to being an artist, label owner, studio owner, DJ Drama went on to receive BET's 2022 DJ of the Year Award, and I was in the house. That was such a great moment for you. And also, what about y'all? He had a Grammy. He won a Grammy last year, right? Give it up.
Thank you.
Best rap album in 2021 with Tyler, the Creator.
Yep, Call Me If You Get Lost.
That's exciting. And you continue to break the mold with your groundbreaking mixtape series. Drama recently released his first studio album in 7 years entitled I'm Really Like That. And if you haven't already downloaded, please go and download it. Featuring hip-hop's most notable heavyweights, including Tyler, the Creator, of course, Lil Wayne, Jeezy, T.I., Wiz Khalifa, Gucci Mane, and many more culturally influential artists. Again, let's give a big round of applause for DJ Drama.
Thank you.
So first off, I got to congratulate you on the new album.
I appreciate it.
And we were just in the back talking about it. So I don't know how many real hip-hop heads we have, but did y'all see the promo he did for the album around the movie Juice? That was so dope. You actually had all the characters, the main characters from Juice.
I did.
How did you pull that off?
If you haven't seen it, go to YouTube or go to my Instagram and check it out. It's like 5 episodes. I did 5 like legendary what is it called? Moments from Juice.
Yep.
And it featured Queen Latifah, Omar Epps, Khalil, who played Raheem, and Steele from the movie. And, you know, when we were just thinking about ideas to promote the album, my staff came up with, you know, Juice was my inspiration to become a DJ. That was the reason why I wanted to be the DJ when I was a kid. I wanted to go see the movie. So they kind of like thought about, you know, just using Juice content to promote the album. And I was like, what if we like really, you know, like redid it? And I called Omar Epps.
I just call Omar Epps, you know.
I call Omar, and you know he was like, yeah, I'm down. I'm super busy. You know, he's been shooting in New York. It's what is it? Is it K9 or Power that he's on? It's Raising Cane.
Yep.
He's shooting Raising Cane. So he was like, you know, if we can work it around my schedule. So then I reached out to Khalil. He gave me Steele's number. And then I was like, what if I could really get Queen Latifah? And I called her manager, who's named Shakim. He ran the idea by her. And then when we were just this year at the Grammys, they did the 50th celebration for hip hop, and I was a part of that. And Latifah was there, and you know I saw her there, and I ran the idea by her, and we shot her scene first. And I actually got Jim Jones to direct it, you know, because I knew Jim would be super passionate about it. And yeah, you know, it came out amazing. Like I kind of played a couple different characters. There was one part during the locker scene with me and Omar Epps, and I played like Tupac's role, and you know we did the apartment scene. But it was like a dream come true to me. Like, you know, it was definitely a moment for me, very full circle, and then very just like, you know, a lot of times in my career I think about like the things that I've accomplished. I'm like, man, how can I top this? And
Yeah,
you know,
I don't know,
it was dope. It's crazy. I just got a call today, literally on my way over here, about an opportunity to, and I don't want to speak too early, about doing something with a new television show. And when the person, you know, told me about the offer, he was like, they basically offered it to you because of the watching your Juice clips and watching you on camera and seeing how you played the role.
That's so creative, and you never know how you can take your craft. Yeah, you can clap for that.
Thank you.
You never know what will spark something else.
You never
right?
know. You never know.
That's so dope. So speaking of hip hop turning 50, right?
Yeah.
You've obviously made your mark on the culture and in Atlanta. What was it like for you being a student at Clark and then just wanting to work in the industry? I mean, because that was the beginning.
It was
of the golden age. I would like to
that
think
was the
in
era.
Atlanta hip hop.
The 90s and the AUC.
Which, by the way, these are the original 1995 J's. I just had to throw that out.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was the era when we used to look at people like Shanti Das and be like, man, if we could only get on her level. You know, I came to CAU in '96 at a time when Atlanta was, you know, really becoming, or was like the mecca of hip hop. You know, from what LaFace was doing, from what So Def was doing, from what Outkast was becoming, and even beyond that, just from like the work that was going on, even behind the scenes in studios, and you know, with Hitco and Patchwork. It was just like, you know, it was literally the hub of everything that was going on in hip hop, and being in the AUC at that time, you know, coming from Philly as a budding DJ, it taught me how to be very well rounded, because you know, I'm in a space where, you know, you have young people of color from all over the country, you know, that love, you know, Texas people love their music, Florida people want to hear what they want to hear, right. California wants to hear what they want to hear, and I'm coming from the East Coast, from Philly, and I had a little stubbornness about me at the time, but it really taught me to become the DJ that I am. And then even during that time, you know, it gave me a space to really, like, you know, do my mixtape hustle, and like, you know, just being on campus and in between classes, like selling mixtapes and you know, setting up and just like really training me to be where I am now. And the other part about it is that like I met, you know, my best friends and my business partners, you know, literally at school in those beginning years.
Shout
like
out to the affiliates.
Shout to the affiliates. Shout to, you know, my partners, Don Cannon, Lake Show, you know, like DJ Sense. Like we literally met all during those early years, and like 25, 26 years later, like, you know, we run a multi-million-dollar business together and are still, you know, and beyond that, thank you. And beyond that, we've been able to maintain a friendship, you know, and we see a lot of times in the music business, like the music business can tear friends apart, you know. So, you know, I'm definitely pretty proud of, you know, us being able to you know, go from splitting $150 to doing college parties to where we are now. But yeah, I mean, I can't imagine.
He ain't say that amount what they splitting. No, I'm just kidding.
I can't imagine like where my career would be if I wouldn't have chosen to go to school at Clark Atlanta. Like, you know, it was just everything for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, just being in Atlanta, being around so many people that still to this day are in the business, and like just even watching like the people that came like before us, or like those who had just graduated go on to do amazing things, like, you know, mentors, like even like DJ Mars, like Keenan Johnson, you know, Kenny Burns, DJ Trauma, like it's just so many people. So and it gave us something to aspire to, because like when we were in school, we were like, man, when is it our turn, or like when's it gonna, you know, be our shot? And you know, still to this day, like, you know, wherever I am, or, you know, during my travels, I run into people that, you know, went to school in the AUC or went to Clark Atlanta University, and, you know, they're very proud of me, and, you know, I'm very proud of, you know, being an alum that like really, you know, found a way and made one, for sure.
Again, let's give it up. That's a heck of a career. Heck of a career. So I just want to say, you know, as much as I love the culture, right? And it's been celebrated, and there's so many beautiful things about hip-hop, the 4 elements. I know they're trying to add 5 and 6, you know, different new elements now. But, you know, there are things about the industry that I think has plagued our community for many years, and that's the use of drugs and alcohol. Right?
Yeah.
And listen, again, I was that girl who would, you know, have my social drinks. You know, I smoked my J's back in the day and all that good stuff. I'm not embarrassed to say it, but, you know, using it as a way to cope for some, you know, is the problem. And time again, I see some of our young kings and queens fall victim to substance abuse, you know, if it's not treated properly, right? And it can certainly take a dark turn in your life. And so people, you know, that I've talked to, which we talked about this a little bit too, that love you and know you, or either don't really know you that well, say you're so cool, but they think you're an introvert, right?
Yeah.
Do you ever, or did you consider yourself an introvert, and did that ever play a part in the career path that you chose? Was it ever too much, and did you ever get like stressed out working in the industry, or depressed?
It's interesting, like, you know, you say that, like, because there definitely is a part of my personality, like a major part of my personality that is quite introverted. Like, even when it comes to me and my partner Cannon, like I'm kind of more of the, people see me more, I'm out more, I'm more places, and, you know, he's like the guy in the studio all the time and behind the scenes. But like if you were in a room with the two of us, he's way more like, you know, extroverted than I am. Like, you know, I could potentially be in a room of people and be quite quiet. And it's ironic because, you know, my job or my career is to be boisterous, and like when you hear me on the mixtapes, I'm talking cash shit. Like I say some of the most arrogant, cocky shit you would ever hear in your life. But, you know, there's also another side of me that's, you know, quite reserved in a lot of ways. And it's, you know, it's weird because, like, even when I think about like my voice has been a very pivotal part of my career. I get my deep voice from my father, but even early on, like when I chose my path as a DJ, like when I was 13, I didn't sound like this, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, so when I think back of, you know, how I got here and, you know, choosing the career that I've chosen and, you know, just what positions play a part, it's like, you know, it's kind of like God had a plan for me in a lot of ways. And, you know, very early on, I think, like, I remember being young and kind of wanting to be famous in a sense, but I also remember, like, you know, I always had a very clear passion about music and being a DJ. So, you know, when I like got into my career, it was to me, it wasn't like, oh, I want to do this because I want to be famous. Like, it would be nice to be famous, but, you know, I love what I do and I do it out of the passion. But yeah, you know, I just think, like, me as an introvert, it's just an interesting dynamic for, you know, how my life is, because I can, like, the other day I did the Strength of a Woman Fest at State Farm Arena, and, you know, went on stage in front of 15, 20,000, and, you know, did it effortlessly, you know. So, like, when I get in my position as DJ Drama, I can turn it on like that, you know. But I'm also, when I'm not being DJ Drama, in the house, a homebody, watching documentaries, and, you know, just started Game of Thrones, trying to get through that, and, like, you know. So yeah, it's interesting, like, you know, and it's interesting to me that, like, other people may have pointed out about me being an introvert. Like, you know, some would argue that in certain instances because of, like, you know, just how I may move or how you may meet me, or in different situations. But there was never like I never felt like a stress level, or, like, there was never a point because of, no, I'll take that back. I do feel like there was a time when, like, if I would be on a stage or at a club, like, I would want to have a drink or two, like, just to, like, loosen up. Like, all right, I need to, like, take a couple shots to
take the edge off a little bit.
Take the edge off, yeah. So I can admit that I did have a period of that where, you know, because like alcohol, like, one thing for me was, you know, for a long time in my life, I was a big weed smoker, but I learned that weed and DJing never mixed for me, because I used to always overthink shit. So I was like, all right, yeah, that's not for me. But alcohol would be the total opposite. It would, like, loosen me up, and I would want to, you know, drink before I got up on stage or in front of a crowd.
And so I think we've all done that, right? You know, you get home, you take a drink to take the edge off.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to talk a little bit about 2015.
Okay.
And I will say this: you and I spoke maybe 5 or 6 months ago.
Yeah, it was like end of last year.
Yeah, end of last year. And I want to just, again, publicly thank you and everyone at Main Street Studios, his recording studio. Silence the Shame has been recording our podcast there for free since 2018. He never asked for a dime for us. And that was when people weren't talking about mental health. And that was before the pandemic. And I remember you gave me a tour last year, because I hadn't been to the new part of the studio. And we just started talking about, you know, the work that we're doing at Silence the Shame. And you said, you know, I'd like to share my story one day. And y'all, no one has heard this story. This is the first time of what we're about to talk about that Drama has publicly shared. So if you don't mind, take us back to 2015, the first time that you actually felt like you were using substances as a way to cope.
Okay.
And you saw things kind of taking a turn in your life.
So I guess before we go to 2015, we'd probably have to go back a little further.
Okay.
So around maybe 2011, 2012, I started drinking lean. I started drinking codeine. And you know.
Just for fun, like after shows or in the studio?
Well, originally, yeah, like just like in a casual way. You know, I don't think I had ever tried it before that, but like, you know, lean is like when the way you drink it or the way people drink it and you mix it with soda and everything, it's like, it's the most amazing taste ever. It's like liquid candy. It's delicious, but it's terrible for you, obviously. But what wound up happening was, you know, I got in a position where, you know, I was going through some relationship issues and had some infidelity issues on my side, and I went through a breakup. And while I was drinking lean at that time, you know, I started to have sleeping problems, and I literally like couldn't sleep, you know, because my mind was racing a lot. I had felt a lot of guilt, and you know, because of the situation, and I literally would have to like drink lean to go to sleep, you know. So because of that, like I started a habit, and you know, it got to a point where like it was a little severe. Like I had a couple of experiences that were frightening. You know, I wouldn't necessarily say like overdosing, but just like things that definitely scared me in a sense where, you know, it could have went bad.
Did anybody around you notice, and were they trying to talk
Yeah,
to you?
people knew. I mean, my close friends, like, you know, they were aware, because, you know, we were like, I would be on the road. We were on the road together, and lean also like it changes your personality a little bit, like, or it did mine. It would make me really grumpy and like just kind of like aggy and things like that. And then actually, yeah, I had a experience in LA where I had been drinking it, and my business partner Lake was with me, and we literally were like after a gig, and I was going to the hotel, and I think I literally like passed out on my way to my room or something like that. So I drank lean for about maybe like from like maybe like 2012 to about 2014. The other thing about it is because of the soda and the calories and everything, it puts a lot of weight on you. So I got kind of chubby off of the shit, and that because of that at the time, you know, I started to work out a lot and change my eating habits and my diet, and I wanted to get off of it. But I still had, you know, sleeping problems. So the person that I was getting it from told me I had stopped drinking lean, and they kind of put me on a Xanax, and I started taking Xanax to go to sleep. And then around the same time, I was
Do you mind if I asked, it's just like one pill a night?
Yeah, I think so. It would be like maybe like half a bar or something like that, you know. And while I was using Xanax, I was introduced to Percocets, and I had never, you know, taken prescription drugs or pills before that at any time. And I remember, you know, so 2015 was the first time I had taken a Percocet, and I literally like fell in love with the feeling. Like it was just super euphoric, you know. It made me feel like I was on cloud nine, and then it also would help me like go to sleep. So that was the beginning of my Percocet use. And you know, I wasn't very versed or knowledgeable at the time, but you know, like when I first started, I started literally like taking like a 10, which is 10 milligrams. And, you know, I will say the person that was supplying me at the time, he cared about me because he wouldn't sell me like more than a certain dosage and I would want. And the thing about perks is like when you take them, you know, your body gets used to it. So the feeling that you might get from taking 1 10 milligram after, I don't know, a couple weeks or a month or whatever of taking that, it's not going to give you the same feeling. So then you're going to want to take 2. So you're taking.
Well, that's with anything, right? You get used to it, or your body get used to it.
I would think
and you're
so.
looking
I
for the
mean,
next.
yeah. I mean, opioids are known for that,
Yeah.
like for sure. You know, like, damn, what's that show called? There's Dope Sick. I don't know if anybody have seen Dope Sick before, but like, it's an amazing show, and I advise everybody out there to check it out. It's literally about how the Sackler family, you know, used and abused opioids in the opioid crisis to take advantage of middle America, and just like how sickening they were. I mean, like, so I'm talking about like a 10 milligram. Like, there was a period of time when they were making like a 160 milligram pill. So yeah, that was literally the beginning of, you know, my Percocet addiction, or I wouldn't even say addiction at that time, but usage and like dabbling into taking, you know, opioids.
Thank you for sharing that. At what point did you really feel like it was a problem? Like, when did your family start seeing behavioral change, right? Because that's the thing with mental health, because the work that we do at Silence the Shame is primarily just mainly around, you know, mental health, but you have to talk about addiction and behavioral health, right? And the patterns that you start seeing. And so to me, and what we talk about is it goes hand in hand, right? The depression, the anxiety, a lot of people are trying to numb the pain, right?
Yep.
That's why they start using it. And so when did you or your family see it being a real problem?
It took a while. I mean, so I went from like, for a couple years, you know, probably taking a certain dosage or, you know, maintaining a certain level of my habit, and not even really realizing like how it would affect me, in a sense. Like, you know, I went from one point of like I would take them to go to sleep, and then next thing you know, I was taking one in the morning, I would take one in the afternoon, then I would take 2 at night or something like that. And then, you know, I got introduced to like 30s, which were like 30 milligrams. And then, like, you know, as time went on, you know, I noticed myself taking more and more and more, because it was like chasing a certain high. So I didn't realize I really had a problem until about 2018, when I think it was one random day where I wound up not having any pills or any perks, and my body just started like feeling crazy, and I started like just sweating. I couldn't sleep, and you know, my bones started to ache, and I was just like, I was going through it. And I called somebody, and I was like, yo, I feel fucking crazy. And they were like, oh, you're going through withdrawals. And I'm like, what are withdrawals? You know what I'm saying? So I went right to the internet and I looked it up, and you know, I literally looked up like, you know, what withdrawals were and what your body goes through, you know, once your body is used to taking opioids and getting used to it. And I told myself after that day, like, it felt so painful and like so terrible. I told myself I'll never go another day without having a Percocet after that. Like, I'll never forget that day in 2018 when I told myself, oh no, I'll never want to have this feeling again. Like, I'll make sure anytime I'm gonna make sure to have Percocets. So from there, it was like I went into like a habit of probably spending $5,000-$6,000 a month, like, on perks.
Wow.
Like, you know, and that's so, like, after doing research and, you know, really diving into it, it's like, you know, it's sickening, you know, the opioid crisis, like how it leads to, you know, heroin and things like that. Because, you know, a normal average person can't afford a $5,000, $6,000 a month habit on taking pills. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you can go and get heroin in the street and give you, and literally like when you take opioids or you take Percocets, when you the degree that I was taking them, like the state that it would put me in, it was literally the same as if I was doing heroin. I mean, it's like it's like being a zombie in a sense. So it was around that time I actually wound up going on a summer tour, which I always go on, and it was interesting because like I was in bless you, I was in great shape. I was working out. I was, like my career was going good. I was on tour and I was doing all these things, and I was like calling myself like a functional junkie. Like, oh yeah, I got this under control. Like I'm on perks, but it's not affecting anything, not realizing that like it does affect a lot. Like it would, it makes you make irrational, illogical decisions. Like, I wasn't thinking clearly in a lot of situations and not even realizing it, let alone just how I may have looked to, outsiders or, slurring my words or just, however, but I hid it from a lot of people for a long time. My friends knew, and
That's cool. That's what I wanted to ask you, because oftentimes in the music industry, we talk about entourages, right, and the camp and the crews that are around you. Did anyone in your camp ever say anything or try to help?
Yeah, I mean, that's what wound up putting me on a path of getting right was my friends, after they realized it was getting to a stage of really affecting my life, they called my family members and had somewhat of a, or not somewhat, had an intervention with me and was like, yo, like, Tyree, you got to get this shit together. Like, it's out of control. And so, yeah, my friends and who were my business partners, Lake and Cannon, reached out to my mother and my father, and other family members. And, I came home one day and everybody was in my house and, it was sitting there saying, like, what are we going to do about this?
Thank you for just opening up.
It's all good.
Yeah, you can clap for that.
That's why I don't, like, I don't know if am I really an introvert or am I not an introvert? Like, I tell it quite comfortably, so I don't.
I like to sometimes call myself an extroverted introvert.
I like that.
A new
I can rock with that.
So talk to us a little bit about the journey of when you actually got the help, right? And going into treatment. And was there a time, where you went back through your withdrawals and you were depressed, or, you couldn't really work and do what you wanted to do, and your career was kind of put on hold? What was that like for you, Drama?
So all this happened around February of 2020. So I decided that I was gonna go to rehab, or I was toying with the idea of going to rehab February 2020. And, I started looking at all these different places, and from, local places to Hawaii and Denver and just all types of stuff. But then I was also like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I got my Vegas residency, I got this gig. Like, I don't have 6 weeks to put to the side, or, I don't have time to do this or do that. And, as I was making phone calls, and I was looking at various places, I called this one place, and they told me, well, before you come to rehab, you have to go through a detox program. And, they gave me some recommendations. And one of the recommendations they gave me was this place called Mount Sinai. And I looked it up, And when I looked it up, it just kind of struck me as a kind of different. Like, it had like, they said they offer like meditation and yoga, and they had like daily workout classes and just things that I wasn't noticing at other like rehab facilities. So I literally took a trip. It's a place in Dahlonega, Georgia. And I took a trip up there, and I went up there, I think, with my mom, and I had my driver take me in a Maybach, and I pull up to Mount Sinai. So I guess it wasn't the most like discreet way to show up at a rehab facility. So as I was looking around, and I left, I got a phone call. And this guy named Jeff was on my phone, and he was the owner of Mount Sinai. And I guess someone wound up telling someone that DJ Drama just came up here, and he was like, "Look, I just heard you came up here." He said, "Yo, give me a chance. Like, come to us, and I promise, I got you. I'll take care of you. Like, they told me you came," and I was like, "All right, bet." So literally I had a gig in Vegas coming up like that Friday, and like it got canceled by that Thursday. The world has shut down. So it was like
the pandemic.
The pandemic hit. Like the pandemic hit like right then and there, and I was like, this is the time, like, so I literally like checked myself in to Mount Sinai that Monday, like literally right when the pandemic hit and everything closed down. So I went, and I just made it in because they had stopped even accepting patients to a point, but I went to rehab for the first time, like at the very beginning of COVID and the pandemic. And yeah.
So that was, I don't know if you're a spiritual person, but that was a blessing.
It was definitely a blessing in disguise in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of like toying with like, it's almost like because of that, I like forced myself, like, you gotta go right now. Like, there's no better time, because I didn't know what I was gonna do. Like, I was gonna have to cancel all my gigs and disappear, and and I remember the other thing about Mount Sinai too was they allowed us to like keep our phones, which was important to me. Like I didn't feel like away from the world. So yeah, like the pandemic hit, and I was in a rehab facility in a detox space, and like.
Was it scary?
So the first day I got there, and I remember like the owner actually came and picked me up, and like that morning I probably took like four 30s, which is 30s, like 120 milligrams. So I was high as a kite on my way to Mount Sinai when they checked me in. Wow. And so I got there, and they take your vitals, and they put you in inpatient and everything, and I had a room to myself, and I remember like the first day, like I barely even came out the room. I like slept the whole day away, and I think like it was like a Friday, so they had like this like they would do like barbecue or like hot dogs and hamburgers and stuff like that, and like I remember just the smell of it, like just like it was just getting to me, and I had like maybe by like the second day, I hadn't felt any withdrawals or had any feelings, and I remember talking to my mom, and like, I don't need to be here. Like, I want to. It reminded me of like the 10-year-old me going to summer camp, crying to my mom, like wanting to come home, and I was like, I don't need to be here. I can do this on my own. Like, I'm good. I don't feel no withdrawals. I'm fine. And she was like, yo, just give it a chance. Like, because I originally had went just for detox and not like for the rehab for the rehab part. So I wasn't scheduled to go to any meetings or any of the counseling and anything like that. So I was very standoffish at first. One, just because I was in that mood, and two, obviously I didn't really want to get recognized or be seen by anybody. And then maybe by like this 2 days in, the withdrawals kicked in, and they have this thing they give you called Suboxone, which is which they offer to people to to like get off of opioids.
To like wean you off?
Yeah, to wean you off. Suboxone, it's like a strip, and it blocks the receptors in your brain that give you the high off opioids, and like
or the desire, right?
Or the desire, yeah. So and from the withdrawals too. So because that was one thing my mom would say to me. She was like, you're not there, don't feel any pain. Like, the reason why you go to these places is so you don't have to go through the pain of cold turkey, or not like that's what they're there for. So I started the Suboxone, and then this counselor came into my room like maybe the third day, and just was like, she wanted to come check on me and just see how I was doing. And we wound up talking, and I just kind of like opened up to her and literally told her like my whole life story. And she was like, I know you're only here for detox, but I really think it would help you if like you went to some of the classes or went to, one of the men's sessions. And she was like, there's a therapist, a counselor named Amy, and I would love for you to meet her. Like, I think you got like, I think she would be incredible for you. And I was like, okay, I'll go. Like, I opened up. I was like, all right, I know I'm not here for that, but I'll check it out, So about like the third day, I kind of had came out my shell, and, I started interacting with people and things like that. And it definitely didn't take long for people to realize like who I was, or, like for like the chatter to start that I was up there. And so I wound up going to a group session for like during part of like the rehab. It was like it's like a men's group, and it was, I guess, we all sit in a room and have conversations and talk and tell about ourselves. And I was still a little quiet like the first day. And then the second day, I had like an individual session with Amy, like after our group session, that was scheduled. And just to like backtrack a little bit, like before I had, maybe like 6 months before I wound up going to rehab, I had actually like had a therapist, and I didn't really like her. Like the therapist that I had originally had she just, I always say like she was like a warm blanket. Like, when I would tell her things or explain myself, like the way she would respond to me was kind of just like made me feel good, or tried to make me feel good. So when I sat down with Amy and I had this one-on-one, and I just kind of opened up to her, and it was like a good maybe hour and a half of us, her getting to know me getting to know her, and me telling her my story and what have you. And literally, like within that one session with her, I got so much out of sitting and talking to her that like I had gotten from a person in like a therapist or just a counselor or anyone. Like she like blew my mind away, like to the point where I was like, can I see you again? And I was only supposed to be there for a certain amount of days, and like I wound up extending my stay because I wanted to continue to have some more sessions with Amy. So during this time, I was the way they were prescribing me Suboxone was pretty much like a taper system. So like the first day I started with like 16 milligrams, and then they would take me to 12, and they would take me to 8, and to 6, to 4, to 2. So by the time, and Mount Sinai is like a really dope place, you know, like it was kind of like even like too nice, like to the point where I was like, I gotta get out of here. Like this shit feels like summer camp for people on drugs. Like it's volleyball, like it's too, I gotta go. Like I had to get back. It was
good self-care.
I had to get back to the real world. So yeah, so I wound up staying for 10 days or maybe like 2 weeks. And you know, one of the greatest things I got out of it was that I met Amy, and I asked her could she continue to be my therapist, and by law she wasn't allowed to for a certain period of time. But so that was 2020. So maybe by like September of 2020, when the amount of time had lapsed, I called her because she had given me another recommendation for another therapist to see when I left, and I started going to him, and it just wasn't the same. Like it wasn't Amy, and I called her, you know, months later. I was like, hey, it's been 4 months. Like, can I see you? And I know it sounds like I'm talking to a girl, but it wasn't. It was just. Never mind.
It's all good. I tell people sometimes therapy is like dating. You gotta keep swiping until you find the right
one. But like, and you know, we started our Zoom conversations, and she's my therapist to this day. So
wait, so y'all are still in session?
Oh, I see Amy every week.
Yes.
Yeah, I love her to death. Yeah, it's all on Zoom, but yeah, I have weekly sessions with Amy, like to this day.
So why now? Why share your story now? And what would you like for everyone listening today to take away from this conversation?
Well, just to finish and to explain why now. Do we have time? Or are we on it? Okay.
Yeah.
So when I got out of rehab, I came back and the world was shut down. So I came back to a whole nother world. And, you know, like it wasn't the real world. So I stayed clean for not too long because like I came home mid-April 2020 and like, you know, even during those couple of months during the pandemic, like I got my hand on a Percocet here or there, and I would take it, but it wasn't. I hadn't formed, you know, the same type of habit because I couldn't get them. You know, like I didn't have anywhere to get them from. But by November, December, you know, and especially Atlanta, like Atlanta was like wide open compared to the rest of the country. And I wound up running, I was out and about in the city, and I wound up running into, you know, somebody in a random club, and, you know, I found out they had Percocets, and I started back. So I relapsed in like December of 2020, and, you know, I found myself like, you know, I had been going out a lot, which isn't something I would normally do. Like, you know, again, I'm a homebody, but seeing that I wasn't working a lot, and, you know, just how I was wanting to stay fresh with the music and culture and shit, like I just found myself out a lot in Atlanta and in situations that weren't normal to my personality. And then when I started back taking perks again, I went back into like this isolation mode, and I went back in the house, and like instead of going out, I would, you know, be in the house taking perks just like in my room, and I started my habit back up. And like it's like on a personal level, like it's something that like I've told people, or I've talked to people, I've spoken to people about. Like obviously, this is the biggest platform that I've spoken about it publicly. But so all of 2021, I continued. I was back on Percocets, and then I had a situation where literally I was about to like overdose. Like I had to go to the hospital. Like they put I forget what it's called, but like the Narcan. Oh, no. They put Narcan in me, and like I was still dozing off, and they were literally gonna like 10-16 me, which means like they were gonna keep me in the hospital like almost like on some psych ward shit. And like I had to, like 2 days, I was supposed to go shoot a movie, the movie You People, like 2 days after I was in the hospital. Lo and behold, some nurse was in the hallway talking about, oh yeah, you don't know DJ Drama, like Lil Wayne, dedication to like da-da-da, and that's a clear HIPAA violation, if people are familiar with what HIPAA is. And because of that, I was able to like get myself out of that situation, because they were going to keep me in there, and I would have missed that opportunity to go, film that movie. And, because of, the hospital being scared of, her HIPAA violation, I was able to like use it to my advantage to leave this situation. So then I went to go shoot the movie, and during one of the breaks, I wound up in a conversation with Jonah Hill, and Jonah's very public about his addictions in the past and his situations, and not to put too much of our personal conversation out there, but he was really very uplifting to me and for me, like just about building a support group, and having people of like minds, or people you can call on, like when you're in need, or when you have that feeling. And it was another sign from God, because if I would have gotten 10-16, I wouldn't have been on this movie set talking to Jonah Hill about our addictions, or being in that space. So just to fast forward a little bit, so by that time, again, my parents were aware that I was taking again, and I had just went to a doctor to get some Suboxone on my own, just to start the process of like getting off the pills, and I just never could do it. Like every time I got to a point, I always got scared of the withdrawals, and instead of taking the Suboxone, I would take another Percocet. And what was I about to say? And like my biggest fear, like one thing I used to always talk to Amy, my therapist, about was like, my fear is that I'm gonna end up like Michael Jackson or Prince, like these two of the world's biggest stars ever, and they died of prescription pills. Like, why am I any different? You know what I'm saying? Like, this shit's gonna kill me. Like, it's only a matter of time. Like, and like one day, and it didn't. At that point, it didn't scare me enough to stop me, but I continue to always have that thought, like, I'm gonna wind up like Michael Jackson or Prince, and people are gonna be on Instagram posting pictures of me saying R.I.P. DJ Drama. You know what I'm saying? And so last year, right before I started tour with Wiz Khalifa again, I told myself, like, I got 3 options here. Like, I'm either gonna go on the road and buy a bunch of perks to take with me and I'm gonna abuse it, or I'm gonna be on the road and I'm gonna be searching for them and not know where I'm getting them from, and it's gonna wind up being fentanyl. Or 3, I'm gonna like be going through withdrawals because I don't have them. And I literally called my man Jeff from Mount Sinai, and I was like, "Look, bro, I'm about to go on tour in a week. Like, I need some help." And he was like, "Come up here, we'll take care of you." And so a week before I went on tour, I took myself back to Mount Sinai, and I checked myself in July 22nd, and that was the last time I've had a Percocet.
Yes. Mount Sinai saved your life.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I just say how proud of you I am? It
Thank
takes
you.
so much courage. I mean, just to even be on this stage tonight takes a lot of courage.
I appreciate that. And, you know, I'm extremely proud of myself. And then, you know, like, even that second time at Mount Sinai, like, literally from the first day that I was there, when I went, this guy came up to me like, "Dude, you look just like DJ Drama." And he's like, "I've heard he's been here before." And I'm like, man, if I wanted to make some money, I could sue the shit out this place. But, you know, they have been so good to me. And, like, you know, everyone, the second time I went, like, everybody knew that I was there. Like, everybody knew DJ Drama's here. But it wasn't, I wasn't ashamed of it. Like, I wasn't like, you know, I wasn't hiding it, or, you know, because, like, I'm no different. Like, you know, everyone has these problems, or a vice, or, you know, like, or not that everyone has these problems, but, like, people go through this, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, regardless of what my career is or what my success is, like, I'm no different from this kid in here who's has these coping issues, or, you know, these substance abuse issues, or, you know, his or her mental health. So, like, for me, like, even being there and everyone knowing it was me there, like, I was super open about it, and I was cool. And, you know, even with the way the staff were, like, you know, I would tell them, like, "Nah, it's all good. Like, I'm not tripping." Like, you know, just in different scenarios of, you know, HIPAA violations is a very serious thing. Yeah. And, you know, my HIPAA rights had been violated a lot, but it wasn't, you know, it didn't bother me. So, you know, even after I left Mount Sinai that second time, and I've been on this journey ever since, and I've been clean, it's like, you know, I've been very open and just, you know, vocal about, like, my experiences, and just, you know, being so proud and happy that, like, I'm so close to a year of being clean and off of perks.
Yes, that is so dope. So, if you notice on the flyer, it says healing in public. So it sounds a shame we have this campaign called Healing in Public. You are the epitome, right, of healing in public, because we get up every day and we have to go to work, and we have to be resilient for our families, and we have to continue in our careers. And, I mean, everything, you know, you're wearing a hat of, you know, music exec, artist,
Yeah.
DJ, all of that. You're consistently healing in public.
Yeah.
Again, and we're so proud of you. We're going to open up shortly for Q&A, but I want to just ask you one last thing. Like, kind of, what is life like now for you, and how do you take care of yourself? And are you eating clean?
Yeah.
Drinking a lot of water? What do you do if you ever have urges? Like, you still talk to Amy? Like, what is that process as you continue to heal in public? Excuse me, like?
It's all of the above of what you said. I mean, you know, I try to eat as clean as possible. You know, I mean, we all have our moments, but yeah, I definitely I changed my diet. You know, I try to drink a gallon of water every day. Like, I have weekly sessions with Amy. Like, you know, I saw my life, like, literally take a turn, in a better space, since I've been clean, and and just being able to focus on, my family, my career. Like, I actually like Suboxone is something that they prescribe to people that you can take it where you can take it for a short period of time or you can take it for an extended period of time. So like when I was on tour, I was taking Suboxone during the whole tour, and there's also something called a Sublocade shot. So since maybe like September of last year, I get a Sublocade shot, which is similar to Suboxone, but instead of having to take it manually every day, I get a shot every month, just to kind of like, make sure in a sense, I guess, like that I don't have any urges or anything like that. And, there's a part of me that's at this stage in my life that's not sure if it's because of the Sublocade or just because I tell myself every day I'll never take a Percocet again. Like, and I've been around them. I've had situations where, they've been right next to me and I've had no urges to take them. So, like even moments like that, I was like, wow, like that would have never happened in another time. And, like you said, like just like the things that I do or live my life for, like, I'm running a business or being an artist or, doing gigs, like doing these things, like people would have never imagined in a million years that I was going through this, like I briefly had this conversation with T-Pain on his podcast, and he was like, dude, I would have never known. And I was like, yeah, like, why would you? I hid it from the world, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, like, I'm in an amazing space in my life. Like, it feels great. And, I continue to work out every day and eat clean and drink water and just enjoy life and know that, with all due respect, like I'm not going to wind up like Prince or Michael Jackson in that way.
Yes. Well, you always have a friend in Silence of Shame and me.
I appreciate that.
We got your back, and you can call and text 3 or 4 in the morning.
Thank you.
And I'll be there for Lake and the crew, anybody that needs me.
I appreciate it. And, I've like when we spoke and when I've like, it's been a part of me that's like wanted to tell this story, like even my persona in a lot of ways is very, what's the word? Like, the DJ drama that people hear on mixtapes, or the character of DJ drama is like this flawless individual, but like Tyree Simmons is a real human being, you know what I'm saying? And like this is a real issue, and it's not foreign. Like even from me watching Dope Sick, like just even when I was watching it, it brought tears to my eyes just to watch the damage that these companies and what the opioid crisis has done to so many people, or like how it affects so many people. Like my struggle is not foreign to a lot of people, and it's like even me talking to Jonah Hill or him telling me like, yeah, he and Eminem had the same conversation, and M told him to call him when he might have had an issue. Like, like even people in the limelight, like we're all human beings. We all have struggles that, we deal with. And it's important for people like myself to tell my story, to, to open it up for those who could be or know someone that might be dealing with the same things.
Absolutely. Thank you again for trusting us with your story.
Most
Everybody, indulge me for 1 second, including you. Everybody close your eyes. I got to read, so I got to keep my eyes open. And repeat after me. I am peace.
I am peace.
I am love.
I am love.
I am joy.
I am joy.
I am everything I need to be.
I am everything I need to be.
I
I
am
am
enough.
enough.
Let's give it up for DJ Drama.
Thank you. Thank you.
But the fact that you all are here tonight and showing up in the room, right? You're already being an advocate for your friends and family members and you don't even know it, right? Or that friend or that colleague or that artist you're working with, right? Or that classmate. Being here, getting the knowledge, continuing to have these type of conversations. That's why we love the Gathering Spot. And again, appreciate TK and Ryan and Kendrell and everybody for realizing the importance of this. We got to have these conversations even outside of May, right? Being Mental Health Awareness Month. But just normalizing the conversation, y'all. You know, people are people. Life be lifing. With all of us. That's like my favorite saying now. Life be lifing. And I don't care who you are. Doctor, lawyer, psychiatrist, dentist, music executive, Gangsta Grillz founder, you know, go on and on and on. But we have to really continue to lead with compassion, to not judge people that might be going through stuff, right? And to try to like just, you know, be there for ways. Sometimes they just need you to sit there and listen to them, all right? Or if somebody's going through withdrawal, just sit there with them and hug them. Let them kind of tell you what they need. And if that doesn't work, then you come with the family interventions. But try to have a plan in place. But the best thing you can do is to equip yourself with the knowledge and education and empower your community, right? Our vision with Silence the Shame is mental health equity for all, right? It's our vision for the future. Behavioral health support and care for all, right? And so this man right here is my hero. And I just want to thank you again from the bottom of my heart. And thank you from Silence the Shame.
Thank you.
For sharing your healing in public story. Once again, y'all, let's give it up for DJ Drama.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me the platform to share my story.
And who knows, more to come. We can get on some even bigger stages and share the story.
Sure.
You in with us. You locked in now, brother.
Oh, yeah, I'm in.
I just want to let y'all also know that the raffle is still open. We need you all to complete the event surveys. For small nonprofits like Silence the Shame, for us to be able to share outcomes, it's important, y'all. I know it's tedious, but use the QR code. My staff is passing it around. Take the survey. It's a chance to win $100. Follow Silence the Shame on social media. If you were here tonight, you like what you saw, this powerful message. This man laid his life out in front of y'all, right? And bared his soul and was so vulnerable. Let's keep the conversation going with hashtag Silence the Shame. I would be remiss if I did not thank our Silence the Shame team, our executive director, Jewel Gooding, our creative director, Megan Shorjord-Pringle, our new program manager, Russell Patterson, our operations director, Tamir Wood, and our co-host of the Silence the Shame podcast and TV producer, Free the Vision. We are a small but mighty team, but we're out here trying to save lives. So thank you. Get some swag, mingle. We got some mocktails going. I intentionally did mocktails because I thought it was appropriate for this evening. That's not to say you can't have your glass of wine when you get to the crib, but we're just doing mocktails tonight and being respectful of the moment and space that we're in. But again, remember to take time, y'all, save a life, and silence the shame. Thank you.
3, 2, 1.
I think it's time that we start the conversation and silence the shame.
Silence the shame.
Silence the shame. Silence is the difference between treatment or pain, life or death.
Silence the shame.
Speak up now and silence.
Silence.
Silence the shame.